Welcome, friends. My name is Charmaine, and here at Two Witch Isle, we talk about spirituality and mental health, and sometimes chickens. And today I have an update for you. Yes, Pepper, I'm getting to you. Pepper's pretty loud, and I don't know if the microphone is picking her up. I hope so. This is Pepper, one of my Easter eggers. I got back in April, I do believe. Pepper is now 15 weeks old. 15 weeks old. I'm talking about you, yeah. Hi. Anyway, Pepper is my Insta egger, as we call her. She is the first to jump up on anything high and walk around up there like she owns it. Yeah, talking about you. So I clipped Pepper's wings so Pepper would stay safe and on the ground. But Pepper overcame her wing clipping. Yeah, you did. And so Pepper will always be my fence bird. She likes to be high. Although yesterday I found Pepper. Yesterday I found Pepper outside of the fence. I think she knows now what happens when she goes to the wrong side of the fence. Hey, I guess you're ready to go back? Shh, Pepper prefers a perch. Pepper prefers my perch. Pepper is also known as my spicy nugget. Yes, you're the spicy nugget. And sometimes you're a little turd. And in April, this girl was like this big. I don't know what happened. All right, Pepper, say goodbye. Not back there. Over here. Look, Pepper. Over here. Say goodbye to the people. How about here? We give bye. So that is what my Easter eggers look like now. At one time, I could have them all here on this little tabletop. And now they're all really big chickens with clear minds of their own. Taking down my computer, scratches up and down my arms and my body. Chickens, man, just don't like to cooperate. So, on to my topic for today. I was thinking about how long I've been in therapy, to be honest. And I pulled out one of my old group therapy books, Courage to Heal, which is a group to help define and sort out what sexual trauma is. And as I was kind of flipping through it, I was just really looking for a growth point. Show me somewhere I've grown. Well, it doesn't take long to find. There's a whole section on safety in this book and why you need safety and all of that. As I look at it now, I don't believe anything that was in it that I read before meant anything that it does now. Now I understand what that book was trying to tell me. Let me just bring it up here. This ginormous book. And I think like a 16-week group therapy session. Anyway, as I was reading through that safety section, at the end, there were questions to kind of cue you up, kind of give you something to write about. And I did make a point to write in just about every place that I could. Here was the prompt question. What was hard for me in this chapter? What was confusing? What didn't I understand? And what I wrote down was setting guidelines and boundaries is confusing and was hard. I still don't feel I deserve safe boundaries. And that was the mindset I was in. And when I went through this section, there was a lot of these things always happen to me, which I don't recognize in my life now because I don't talk to myself that way any longer. I really realized how important safety is to your overall healing. When I was writing things like this, when I was struggling understanding boundaries because I didn't feel like I deserved them, it's very hard to set a boundary with anybody if you don't feel like you deserve to have your boundary adhered by. And that's kind of a sad, scary place for me to think of now. And I didn't realize how big of an impact not having that sense of safety was in my life. My safety was maintained by keeping secrets in the family. Keeping those secrets ultimately are what damaged me. And it wasn't even that maybe I was told I had to keep this secret. It was that it was implied with everything you did. And when you're holding in secrets, it really impedes your ability to stay safe because you're always on guard. You're always on watch out that somebody might find out. Something I had highlighted in the book was you may not want anyone to know that you're a survivor because you're afraid they'll find out what a bad person you really are. You are sure they will judge you and discover something terrible about you. You don't want to share because you were threatened to keep the abuse a secret when you were growing up. I went on to highlight this other portion as well. Privacy that isolates you and leaves you feeling alone with your pain doesn't protect you. It keeps you from finding the allies you need. Now, when I think back to when I felt the most unsafe while I was taking this group, I held so many secrets inside at that time that it was hard to see anything in my present because I was protecting so hard from the past. I couldn't keep my eyes off of it. If it did, something might happen. And that kind of maintained my stuckness in my therapy. Also, because I didn't want to put something so horrible in anybody else's head. I didn't need anybody thinking, oh, poor Charmaine and her abuse. I didn't want that either. But I didn't realize that I was robbing myself of people that might actually understand, that might have skills that they can share to allow me to better heal. Now I realize that talking about the things that happened to me, not with everybody, but with a certain select few, or on a platform I personally designed for this is what helps me not maintain this being alone in my pain and the isolation. But this also helps me get out the things that have helped that might help others down the road. And I think no matter what, all of us have to heal from something, whether it's a sexual trauma, a verbal trauma. There are a lot of different traumas, a natural disaster trauma. There's so many different types of trauma out there to heal from. And all of the skills that I share here are geared toward that. That's my ultimate want for everybody is to maybe find something here that works really well for them to help them build that emotional intelligence they need to ultimately grab that place where they want their soul to be happy. I wouldn't have told you 15 years ago that I wanted my soul to be happy because I honestly didn't think I had a soul. I felt so broken. And it wasn't deep into mental health therapy that I was able to put any type of um, healing into place. I couldn't get to a healing place because I was too busy doing everything I could to avoid it, or to disassociate it from my life. Unfortunately, that doesn't work for any trauma. To overcome, To undo disassociation is to associate. Trauma's always going to be bad, and it's always going to leave people in a place where they just don't feel safe. My platform here is hopefully a safe place for people to open up about anything that might be bothering them and maybe find out where that thing in their life started and how to undo and unwrap it and unravel that tangle that comes when you live life. Because I think living life leads everybody with a little bit of a tangle that they got to figure out sooner or later. How did I start building safety? Well, that took a long time, and I didn't really realize how much I did not trust myself to keep myself safe. I was all talk with it. Oh, yeah, I tell you till the cows come home. I was excellent at keeping myself safe. For Christ's sake, I was in the military. I'm good at keeping safe. But the language in my head didn't match the language that was coming out of me. Inside, I was always scared and always felt unsafe. And I wasn't reassuring myself that I actually was safe. I was pretending with all sorts of masks to disassociate from what actually happened and pretend I was doing something else to keep myself safe this time. Well, I kept perpetrating my own traumas, really. So, what did I do? I had to change my language and then I had to gain my own trust. Now, if you know how hard it is to gain somebody's trust after you have wronged them, then imagine that that person that you wronged is yourself. And subconsciously, underneath everything, you don't trust yourself at all. And so everything that comes out of your mouth to yourself is just lip service. And deep down inside, you don't actually believe that truly you're safe. And that was my problem was I didn't believe I truly was safe. But in order to change that language, I had to tell myself things that I thought were not true sometimes because they actually were true. And it was my trauma that was making me believe it wasn't true any longer. So I had had to revisit a lot of thoughts, rewrite a lot of thoughts. And that is ultimately what built my safety. I don't know when it clicked in. I imagine it clicked in when I finally got to move out of the state that I lived in where I didn't feel good and move to a place that I found that did make me feel good. And then once getting here and, having the issues that come when you relocate yourself and and you are now in a new environment and need a new friend group. And all of those things were really difficult for me. And a lot of my road was shaky even after that move in 2020. And now here we are, 2023. I can tell you that I feel safer now than I ever have in the past. And even in reading some of the things that I wrote in this massive group book that I went through in group therapy, and the places that I felt safe a long, long time ago were only safe for a moment and never felt safe. I always felt like I was having to figure out my safety every day all over again, and it was just like the people around me weren't keeping me safe, but I had no boundaries because obviously I didn't feel like I deserved any boundaries. How can I set boundaries with people when I don't feel I deserve them? What a horrible, horrible place to be. I am so glad I'm not there anymore. But that took a lot of telling myself things that I didn't necessarily believe. Kilala, really? I apologize for my cat that seems to think she needs some attention in my window. Please don't show your kitty bum hole. Safety is essential to actually feeling good, especially about yourself. And now where I'm at, I feel safe. I feel able to make those boundaries that I didn't feel like I deserved before. Now I know I deserve those boundaries. And I know what keeping boundaries does for my overall mental health and my spiritual health. Trauma has a way of making you feel very unsafe. And sometimes it even has you adopting a mindset to keep yourself safe. And it might, for a little while, it's called survival mode. And then it kind of stops working. Yeah. And so you need that overall sense of safety to help you even begin to heal, because that safety actually is kind of like a trust with yourself. Building that safety and that trust with yourself takes time. I wanted to happen I wanted it to happen in a month, and it didn't happen in a month. Then I was like, all right, this is a 16-week group. I wanted to happen in 16 weeks. It didn't happen in 16 weeks. I went through, heck, a seeking a safety course. Safety is in the name of the group I took. Yet I took that course like 2 times, and yet I still didn't feel safe. And it really was a product of my environment. As I moved from one environment to the next environment, I found a little more of a sense of safety. And then I would build on that. I would build on whatever it was that was making me feel safe. So back then, that safety looked like I can have my cup of coffee in the kitchen after waking up and feel safe. I can enjoy this cup of coffee for 2 minutes and feel safe in this moment that I am drinking this coffee. And it literally came moment by moment. There was a time I couldn't go to the grocery store and go down certain aisles because the smells bothered me. And it was moment by moment practicing being in a grocery store without having anything to buy, which is a whole nother trauma level for me. And standing there until I feel comfortable and then leaving the store without buying anything were huge hurdles to overcome. And it took years. As I look back, it took years. And so, wherever you are right now in feeling safe, this isn't forever. This place you're in isn't forever. And in 6 months, who knows? One little change to something you do every day might increase that sense of safety, which in turn will increase your ability to feel safe in your own environment. People had a lot of control over my environment for years and years and years. And now I live in an environment that is completely under my own control. And, it might be a little spooky in here, but I like it this way. And I've found that all of these things that are my favorite things bring me a sense of safety, but not only that, a sense of home. I trust myself now more with my own health than I did in past. I get a little depressed lots of times because I go do really great, wonderful events with tons of really great people. And then I come back and I be alone in my own environment for however long it takes for me to get back to another event. And I try not to do too many events because they're tiring, they're taxing, and I am working on my health. I know I am limited in as to what I am able to do. And by keeping those boundaries with myself, I don't overextend myself, and that makes me feel good for myself. but it also allows me to trust myself more. I had to start feeding myself and taking care of myself before my actual body trusted me with overall safety. And I think that is something that we all need to work on with ourselves is building our own sense of safety within self. Because it isn't an easy place. I can fix an environment, I can move to a new place, I can do a lot of things. But if ultimately up here doesn't believe that I can keep myself safe, then the rest of me is going to be living in this out of whack sort of situation where I ultimately need those masks to survive life. And we're not in survival anymore. We're trying to thrive over here. We're actually try to live and thrive in the present and moving toward the future, whatever the future may bring. Thriving in this moment, living in this moment, not just surviving to get by is what's important. And if you are surviving to just get by, please remember that there is a hotline out there for us when we are in crisis. This crisis can be a suicide crisis. This crisis could be my parent just died crisis. The National Crisis Hotline can be reached at 988. Please, if you struggle with suicidal thoughts, if you struggle with a big life change, please call. There are people there who can help you just kind of walk through thoughts and get you to a place where maybe you have more ideas of what is going to help you move forward. Please call 988 if you are in crisis. And thank you for joining me today with a Easter egger update. As always, take what resonates with you and leave the rest behind. And until next time, light and love, friends.